Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and join me today for your advanced look at the Star Wars Legends, the Empire Omnibus Volume 3 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out into direct market and book market on January 7th or 8th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the standard edition cover. This is the one that is supplied by Ken Kelly. And, you know, it's Boba Fett versus Darth Vader. How can I not go with a Boba Fett cover? Like, it's just awesome. And there's a lot more Boba Fett in this than there is Vader, although he is a big part of this book. But anyway, this is what the cover looks like. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover, and that is supplied by Chris Scalf. So that one is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, comicsbugle.com, bdcosmos.com, dyingbreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, readcomics.com, and places like In Stock Trades and Tales of Wonder. And of course, your local comic book store. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so let's shift the focus back to the book. And before I take the dust jacket off, here it is right next to the Empires Volume 1 and 2. And I'll just go ahead and say that the Empire Omnis are mapped so different than the Empire Epic Collections, because I had most of those, and I thought, wait a second, didn't I already read this? But didn't I read this earlier? Yeah, they are mapped different. So that is something to try to do a little bit of research on to see which mapping you enjoy. They actually do a really good job, I think, with the Omni, putting the stories in the way they are supposed to be read in chronological order, not publishing order. So you have Star Wars The Empire right there, Volume 3, and Vader. And then back here, bring on the bad guys, which there are several of those here. Some of the covers of the books collected in here. And these three characters. And then we have the ISBN, the Marvel logo, and the teen rating, Lucasfilm and Disney. $125 retail price. And underneath the dust jacket, we'll look at that here in a second, but let's look at the flaps. A galaxy in the grip of the Empire. And then this is cool. It's a little bit about the it's just a list of the creators instead of doing a bio on a lot of these folks, and some of the amazing panels that you're going to be seeing through this omnibus. So we are going to crack it open, talk a little bit about the stories found in here, and look at the artwork, and then of course look at the extras and build of the omnibus. All right, let's go ahead and get this omnibus open. We have some black end sheets here, and your title, Star Wars The Empire Volume 3. And the writers such as Jim Woodring and Jason Hall, John Wagner, John Ostrander, W. Hayden Blackman, Tom Taylor, and Scott Alley. And those are just some of the writers, your pencilers like Art Weatherall and David Fabry, Ian Gibson, like Gibson art in here, Stefan Rao, Omar Francia, Manuel Silva, and Mike Deodato Jr., Ryan Benjamin, and Gilbert Austin, just to name a few of the pencilers, and of course your inkers like Monty Sheldon and Wayne Nichols and Chris Scalf and Neil Nielsen. And some of the colorists over here like Matt Webb and James Sinclair, Brian Gregory, and some of your letterers like Steve Dutro and Michael Hasler and Clem Robbins. And the editors at the time, your table of contents, of course, letting you know where you are going to find each of these particular issues that are in this collection and when they were released. And again, this is in chronological order of the story, not in publishing order, because you'll see here from 1996 going all the way to 2012, and you're like, wait a second, what the hell? And then bouncing back to 2001 and going back to 1999, it can get a little confusing. Like I said, the Epic collections are mapped just a little bit different. So There's another picture there of Boba Fett. And the Empire, I love the scroll right here, very reminiscent of the movies. And then you've got Jabba the Hutt right there. This Jabba takes, there's a lot of Jabba in here towards the very beginning, which is a little bit different, but yeah, that's him and Bib Fortuna right there hanging out. So, collected in here in omnibus format for the first time is Star Wars Jabba the Hutt, the Gar Sapoon hit, the Star Wars Jabba the Hutt, The Hunger of Princess Nampi, Jabba the Hutt, The Dynasty Trap, and Jabba the Hutt, Betrayal. Then there's a Free Comic Book Day 2012, Star Wars Boba Fett, Enemy of the Empire, issues 1 through 4, and also Star Wars Agent of the Empire, Iron Eclipse, Agent of the Empire Hard Targets miniseries, Star Wars Force Unleashed, the comic book adaptation, as well as Force Unleashed 2, Blood Ties 1 through 4, and Blood Ties Boba Fett is Dead 1 through 4. Star Wars Empire 1 through 4, so the very beginning of the Empire series. And like I said, chronological order in the events of the stories before the movies, A New Hope. And then material from Star Wars Strange Tales. Star Wars Tales 7, 11, 15, 16, 18 through 20, and A Decade of Dark Horse number 2. 1,056 pages, $125. So we do kick it off with these 4 one-shots about Jabba the Hutt. And Jabba the Hutt, it's all about being negotiators, like being the best negotiator there is, and being the best at what he does. So this is both him and this frenemy, I guess is the way to call this character of Gar Sapoon, and they're kind of just trying to see who the better is at taking advantage over the other. The second storyline in here is about the Hunger of Princess Nampi. So after that event of that story, they fly off and they're summoned by this distress call that they thought, okay, we can get some money from them because we are talking about Jabba the Hutt and his friends. So they go there and they're actually, it's a trap. Oh man, I need that Akbar. It's a trap. But anyway, this is where we get to meet this character of Princess Nampi, and she hungers, and she... Actually, I really like this one because I remember reading this one in Epic Collection. I remember, thinking, wait a second. She actually is crushing on one of his right-hand man, and she wants to mate with him, but the way they mate is a lot different than the way that you would think. And then Jabba the Hutt double crosses her. Anyway, he ends up getting his money. Then we have the Dynasty Trap, which is where Jabba kind of gets caught up in the middle of these two families and becomes like a prisoner while these two families are trying to kill each other. And then we have Betrayal. And Betrayal is interesting because this is Bib Fortuna's attempt to overthrow his Hutt master. But if we know the events of A New Hope and then eventually Return of the Jedi, we know that, maybe he failed. But it's interesting to see the character study of someone like Bib Fortuna. Then we have some Strange Tales. So a lot of it featuring the character of Boba Fett and some of the people from his past. So, I keep calling it Strange Tales, Star Wars Tales. Those are kind of sprinkled throughout this omnibus in between the main stories. And a lot of them focusing on the character of Boba Fett and what kind of makes him tick and what kind of makes him, what is his drive and what kind of man he is. I really love the ending of this story. I don't want to say what happens in the story, but the ending of this story is freaking awesome. That little part where he's saying goodnight, Dad, it ties everything together. It's not really ruining anything. Okay, so this is our first mini-series, and this is the one that is actually drawn by Ian Gibson, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Ian Gibson, John Wagner, man. Gibson, of course, I think we lost him last year, 2023. But just used to a lot of his artwork in the Marvel UK and then 2000 AD Rebellion that is printing those old books like the Halo Jones story. But anyway, this is the story of Boba Fett getting hired by Darth Vader to track down this Imperial colonel of the Lightning Battalion. who is it, Colonel Carta. But it seems like Carta was killed by his superior officers, and he has this casket with him. So Boba Fett ends up trying to find this colonel, and ends up that somebody has put a hit on Boba Fett. It seems like that Vader has put not only a tracer beacon on the Slave One, but has sent 3 assassins. And they're being led by this character named Nevo to go and kill Boba Fett once he has acquired this casket. And is it really the Empire that wants him dead? Is it really Vader? So that kind of puts him at odds with Vader, and you get to see just the complexity of both of the characters. Hence that cover, like the standard edition cover, is just awesome. It's perfect for this type of collection. Because like I mentioned, there is a lot of Boba Fett in here. And then we get this John Ostrander story right here. All right, so let's go back to the Agent of the Empire, Iron Eclipse. This is the first issue. This is one by John Ostrander and Stephen Rao drawing these issues. This is where we meet the character of Jahan Cross, who is very, very stereotypical James Bond type of character, but works as a secret agent to the Empire, hence the name, the Imperial Secret Agent. However, in this, he starts to see the wrongness of the Empire, and does he turn a cheek, or does he actually face the Empire? We do get some nice little cameos in here, like Han Solo there and Chewbacca, and how he kind of ties into the stories in here. And I really like the complexity of the character of Jahan Cross, and honestly, I dug the idea of a secret agent in the Star Wars universe, because it's something that we haven't really seen before. Then we do see him go back in the second miniseries to Alderaan, where he is greeted by, well, you'll see some familiar faces in Alderaan, because keep in mind, this is happening like right before A New Hope. So this is actually done by David Fabry. Yeah. It's not Stephen Rao anymore. Now, this one features a lot more Boba Fett, but what happens in here is that he is going back to Alderaan, and in Alderaan, Agent Cross is greeted by, well, you can probably see who these characters are. Anyway, there is a new Count Dooku, which I didn't even know could be a thing until I was reading about it in this book, and he is assassinated by Boba Fett, and that's not the story, because is he really assassinated by Boba Fett, or was Boba Fett framed, putting both Agent Cross against Boba Fett and trying to figure out who this new political pawn will be, because the Count's young heir becomes somebody that everybody is interested in and they're going after. And that ties heavily into the next few storylines that are going to be in here. By the way, that one has a lot of like love and adventure, very much like the stories of James Bond. We get some young Leia stories in here, and before there's actually a journal entry. Yeah, this one right here, the Princess Leia Diaries, talking about her youth in Alderaan, talking about her family. And then we're greeted to the Star Wars Force Unleashed. My brother Manuel absolutely loved these games. It's the character of Starkiller, Darth Vader's secret apprentice, and of course choosing sides. And I like the first one. I thought the second one was pretty good too, though. But the first one blew me away. I had it on, I think it was Xbox One or 360. Or no, it was before the Xbox One. It was on the 360 or the original Xbox. But anyway, it is the story of Galen Merrick, who is this deadly assassin, and he is Darth Vader's secret apprentice. And what this does is it showcases, what they're planning and how they're planning it against the Empire, what they're going to do to take down maybe the Emperor, because a lot of it has been playing at being a pawn of the Emperor and pretending to be a pawn so you could overthrow him. So there's a lot of like Vader's inner thoughts and monologues in here. It's really cool. I didn't expect a lot of the tie-ins to other of the Star Wars comics, because Hayden Blackman actually wrote the video game. And there is a wonderful afterword here by him talking about just the challenges of writing this and some of the things that George Lucas wanted thrown in there and some of the things that he thought he needed to be taken out of the story. But it's really cool. It's a really cool adaptation about, the dark side and in the benefit of being a Jedi. And if you play the game, you're going to love it. It's just a nice reminder of those stories. This is the second Star Wars Force Unleashed, and this one features a lot more of Boba Fett in here. And speaking of Boba Fett, this is a really cool story. This is one by Tom Taylor that kind of brings a lot of these past and present day stories together. So you have the character of Jango Fett doing something in his past that has affected his boy Boba Fett, who has been trained to be a bounty hunter. But then again, remember in episode 2, when Jango Fett lost his life, he left him an orphan. So there's a little bit of a flashback to this story here. But we are introduced to this character named Connor Freeman. And Connor Freeman in present day claims to have ties to the original Jango Fett, and making him and Boba Fett sort of related. So that's what the first story is about. It's about a new bounty. And oh man, the artwork here by Scalf is amazing. And there was a second series to this. And the second series is called, here, let's actually look at it. Boba Fett is Dead. So this is the story where Boba Fett falls at the hands of this elite group of soldiers because Governor Purton wants him dead. However, the killers are starting to get killed one by one by a mysterious person. Could it be the ghost of Boba Fett? And what does it have to do with Connor Freeman when that character gets involved? And I really like how Taylor brings it all together. Tom Taylor didn't write a lot of Star Wars, but he really killed it when it came to that character Boba Fett. I really like those stories. And then we get the beginning of the Empire with the first 4 issues. And this is all, again, the relationship between Vader and the Emperor, Ryan Benjamin, and I can't remember, Ryan Benjamin is the artist, but it's Scott Alley writing the stories. It was written a lot of Star Wars. But this is all about Grand Moff Trakta and Moff Kadir are testing these blasters, and what ends up happening is that they are wanting the trained stormtroopers to come and be at their side, because Vader wants them to escort Governor Tarkin to the Death Star. Because remember, this is taking place before... Actually, this story right here is taking place weeks before A New Hope. So it's the Death Star's ready to be tested, and we have 2 other Moffs. We got Grand Moff Trakta and Moff Kadir. And no, it seems like nobody really gets along with Vader. Nobody really believes in the Force. So Vader does what he does best. But there's a lot of twists and turns in this one as to who decides to side with who and where the Emperor fits in all of this. And of course, throwing in some of Boba Fett in there. And I really like Ryan Benjamin's artwork. He came from the Wildstorm era of comics. And more Star Wars Tales. Is this the, what's it called, run? This one has like the photographic art style. The Kessel run right here. And this is all written and colored and drawn and lettered by Gilbert Austin right here. And it's got that photographic look to it. Again, taking place right before Episode 4. Before it was even called Episode 4. And then you have some of the covers back here. Some variants. Some of the trade paperback covers. Yeah. The actual trade dress for the paperback covers. And character designs by Ryan Benjamin. And this is what I saw. The introduction on The Force Unleashed by Hayden Blackman. And your end sheets. Now let's look at the binding. And build. 1,056 pages. And look at that eye, baby. Printed at the Donley printer. A lot of Marvel Omnis have been recently printed at the Donley printer. Very minimal bleed through. And as far as the way there's not a lot of double page spreads. So I'll just come back here to show you how the book lays over. So it's very minimal gutter loss happening in this book. And that's mainly due to the eye. But that is it. That, as they say, is that in a galaxy far, far away. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, And you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over 40 euros. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and the page count of this omnibus, as well as the build. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking up the Dark Horse era of Star Wars in omnibus format, or you just love Star Wars and you're going to get all of Star Wars in omnibus format, doesn't matter who the publisher was. And of course, if you already have the Epic Collections, will you be upgrading, or if you have the old school Dark Horse Omnis that were the soft covers, if you'll be upgrading those. And what other era of Star Wars you would love to see collected in omnibus format. Any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop, amazing ways to support the channel. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.